There are a lot of people out there who, for the Nintendo Directs, are all about one thing: Hollow Knight, Silksong, a game that is 4+ years in the making now, and it's become a little bit of a meme, one might argue. Is it going to be in the next Nintendo Direct, the indie showcase, etc., etc.? It's become such a big thing that it overshadows every single game potential that could be in one of these Nintendo Direct things. I don't watch the Nintendo Directs because they're always on at weird times when I'm doing other things. But there's a new Blasphemous 2 trailer out. Blasphemous 2, I must admit, I'd kind of forgotten Blasphemous 2 is due out at some point within the next 12 months. I think it's supposed to be, isn't it? Am I right? There may be a release date or something in this. I don't know, because it's a trailer reaction and I haven't watched it. But it's not exactly on my radar as a game I'm super looking forward to within the next 3 months or whatever. But I am really looking forward to Blasphemous 2 because I really, really enjoyed Blasphemous 1. You know, it's the first iteration of it was good, and it became progressively better with each patch and with each DLC that they released, apart from those challenge rooms that they released with the Bloodstained tie-in expansion where you had to do quite a lot of waiting to do platforming challenges. That was a little bit meh, but it's a much better game than it was when it launched. So I'm really looking forward to Blasphemous 2 and seeing what they do with it. I'm also, of course, very interested as to what they're going to do map-wise. My biggest hope, however, for Blasphemous 2 is that they make it more Metroidvania-y, because the weakest for me part of the original Blasphemous was that most of the Metroidvania exploration, you really had to go off the beaten track to find the tools to even allow you to do the exploration. And I'd like it if it's just a little bit more integrated into the main gameplay flow. You know, of the six relics that you could find in the original game, 3 of them you really had to go out of your way to find. The blood stains, I can't remember the actual names. You'd think I would, considering I put together the map for it. The blood-stained sand relic, the twisted tongue root relic, and I can't actually remember what the third one was off the top of my head. That was a little bit far out of the way to get, but they were. So I'm hoping that, as well as the brilliantly dark, gothic, religious kind of setting, and I say kind of in the sense that it's kind of analogous to real world Catholicism, but really kind of dark and twisted take on an alternative religion. It's not real religion, no matter what people were saying. I'm really intrigued as to how they take this to a new level, if they even need to. Let's watch the trailer and actually find out.
Peggy 6.
It's only a short one. Ooh. Slightly different art style. More anime-esque. However, this looks exactly the same. Similar enemies. New spells. Air dashing. Bell ringing to make platform. Yeah, they're going above and beyond with the animation. Oh, they look fun to fight. Coffin guys. There's so much. Is that it? That's going to be it, isn't it? Oh, man. Late summer 2023. I would actually... I would really like it if this came out before Silk Song. I saw... I discovered that there was a trailer for this when I was scrolling through Twitter. And it was somebody talking about all of the games that have been released since Silk Song was announced back in 2019. It was a massive list. And this was kind of attached to it because it's obviously it's not Silk Song. There was so much stuff in that trailer. Let's take a look at it in detail because that's what I do. So we've got this. I'm going to say animated. I don't want to say anime because I feel like anime as a concept is overused. It's an animated introductory scene, and we've got this. This is Deus Gracias, isn't it? With the coffin, which we seem to be in, and it's almost like he's presenting it or presenting us to this new location. I mean, the room at the start of the first Blasphemous, with the crucifixes in the background and the corpses everywhere, that was a very visually striking room. And I kind of expect that this will be our starting room in the sequel, and it will go from this with us coming out of the coffin to a brilliant and beautiful and dark, because of course it will be, pixel art version of this particular room. And I think that would be an incredibly cool starting location to the juxtaposition of surrounded by corpses and crucifixes in a fairly dark chamber in the first game to this beautiful, airy, light-filled cavern with people reaching for us. I'm assuming these are spirits, just because of the almost featureless nature of them. That's my call. Could be very wrong. But here we go into some actual gameplay. To me, it looks like a lot of the elements are going to be very similar to the first game, because there is no need, absolutely no need, to evolve the style pixel art wise for Blasphemous. The original game had an excellent pixel art style. There's no need to say, oh, we need to do something different. We need to go and make it hand animated, or we need to make it line art or whatever. No, stick with what works. I think these enemies are evolutions of the leaping things from the Graveyard of the Peaks that bury under the sand. At least they perform a similar function, leaping out into the air. I feel like this is a new sprite for the Penitent one. But the actual kind of background, I mean, the actual background itself is beautifully rendered and painted. Essentially, that was the thing that I always liked about this. The storm clouds in the background, this cathedral, I'm gonna guess, on a hill, on an island, surrounded by crashing waves. Yeah, it's a classic trope. No, that's not the word I'm after. Classic kind of iconography for anything religious, really. And then we've got these kind of platformy bits in the foreground, which look very similar to, the kind of brickwork and concentrated pixel art style. But there's still some detail, like the little hanging ropes, I guess they are, underneath the bridges. No, it's that kind of attention to detail that I always really loved about these games. We've got some new enemies here. some headless spear guys. They're quite bright in comparison to the color palette for the background, which is good. One of the issues that I have as I advance in years is when enemies get lost in the background and I don't see them. And in a game like Blasphemous, which was, let's be honest, on the more challenging side, losing health to enemies that you couldn't see or didn't see is frustrating. Although, to be fair, the combat in the original game actually wasn't the frustrating bit. It was the pits and the pendulums that was the most frustrating thing. That's what I died to the most. So yeah, we've got new headless enemies. They look quite cool. We get some... Oops. That's the worst problem with doing this on YouTube. These guys are from the first game. Again, I kind of feel like they've been updated in terms of their sprites. I'm pretty certain they've been updated in terms of their sprites, but they've got a similar kind of swinging candle-y stabbiness. Also, do we have a different weapon here? Or is this just a different angle? No, I think that's a different weapon. I think we're going to have different weapons. I like the fact that these platforms are held up by rosary beads. This tile set looks fairly similar to ones that we've seen before in the cathedral. No, the convent. And likewise, look at all that background detail, including we've got people wrapped up in webbing, I'm guessing. But the pixel art is just once again excellent. We've got chandeliers crashing down. We've got whatever the hell this thing is here. I feel like I need to be watching this at kind of half speed in order to really be able to pick out the details. Yeah, we've got different weapon types. I don't know whether this is a summon. No, it's not. That's an enemy. So kind of a ghostly penitent because it's got the pointy hat. But there's also this cool shrine thing over on the right-hand side here. A proper kind of forest environment. There wasn't really much of a forest environment in the first game. There was the little stretch of it between the opening area and Albero, but no actual real kind of forest / swamp zone. Got really nice effects, as you would expect. Yeah, but that's a definite new weapon. So we've got here a rapier and dagger. Yeah, we've got a rapier and kind of a Mengosh style parrying dagger. Clearly we've got the wall jumping back, but it also looks like we've got an air dash attack to break through these chains. I'm assuming these kind of spectrally chain barriers will reform, because that's how they tend to work in video games. But yeah, we've got this air dash attack. In fact, you could just about see it, I think, starting to reform. Interesting that we don't have the stab the sword into the wall kind of wall cling here. I think maybe these kind of metal things are areas that we can grab onto. That's a flying winged jug. Not entirely sure what I can say about that, if I'm honest. But yeah, these are definite kind of wall clingy bits. The trailer is going out of its way, I think, to show us newer gameplay elements. So, you know, grabbing, swinging, air dashing and breaking barriers, giving more life to the platforming, because by the end of its patch and DLC cycle, Blasphemous was pretty tight when it came to its platforming mechanics, but it wasn't perfect. It was a lot better than what it was at release, But it wasn't perfect. This definitely seems to be going out of its way. I also am quite interested in the fact that this up here, I think is one of these spawning in. So maybe a little bit like the Blood Red on Sands platforms that only appear once you've got a particular relic equipped. Maybe that is like this. And actually, while we're on the subject of relics, one thing that I really do hope they do is do away with the relic switching. Design the world so that you don't have to be constantly switching relics, because I found that very cumbersome. And it didn't really add to the gameplay, except in maybe one or two across the entire game, minor instances where you had to have a specific combination of 3 relics in order to proceed. It just didn't do much for me challenge-wise. But this pixel art and the tile in the background and the tile set's very nicely done, as you would expect. I'm assuming they've got the same pixel artists back for the sequel. Ringing of bells, of course, we've got our Priadeus here, one of the larger types. Interestingly enough, not lit up or anything, though. And again, we've got a new weapon here, some kind of giant mallet-y thing. So, because this is pixel art, having multiple weapons that you can equip it's a lot of extra animation time. It's entire sets of every single move and ability that the Penitent one can do, but holding a different weapon. And it's not like they're very similar looking weapons either. This one's a giant two-handed mace thing by the look of it, whereas a rapier and a dagger or a scimitar type weapon, all very different looking. I assume we don't have the mea culpa in this, do we? Because why would we? We used it at the end of the first game. Or maybe we do, don't know. But either way, that looks cool. And yeah, it looks like hitting the bell and the sound waves turn these platforms into, well, turn these weird puddly things into actual platforms. So that's cool. We've also got some kind of mirror. Ah, yes. Okay, so these are the things that allow us to do a kind of a teleporty air dash, again adding to this sense of speed and movements. I wonder if the weapons are tied to the abilities. Part of me hopes not. Part of me hopes that's automatic. But it does look like the electricity is coming from the rapier, so maybe that's just a leftover effect. I don't know. The thorns down at the bottom look just as deadly as you'd expect. This all looks very kind of precise. This looks a lot like the kind of cathedral backdrop that you'd expect from towards the end of the first game. I can't even tell what this is. Some kind of angelic thing? But we've also got a shadow. And look at that. I mean, in terms of impacts and animation, this giant thorny pixel arc is very nicely done. Yeah, that's the scimitar, which has kind of got thorny blades. And yeah, this thing looks to be some kind of weird angelic beast. Giant enemies in a kind of dark cavern. Again, the backdrops in these games always tend to be really nicely done. This one's got a giant spinning discus wheel to avoid. Wouldn't be a Blasphemous game without a giant skeleton of some sort. It looks like it's got some kind of crystalline coffin on its back. But its attack, because of the smearing frames, I couldn't actually tell what it's even got. It looks like it's got a bundle of these corpses from the background tied together on the end of its giant club. because why not? Yeah. This enemy, I mean, this is a nice cozy little room, isn't it? It looks a little bit like something from a Van Gogh painting. And then you've got this thing, which is very reminiscent to me, and it may be to you, of the Godskin Nobles from Elden Ring, just in terms of the kind of layering of it. But also, it's got lots of hooks, and it seems to attack very fast indeed. We've got a downward smash. New enemy here. But is it new? That looks a lot like the torture enemies from the jail in the first game. Which are fine, because I liked those enemies. They were fun. Giant floating coffins. These spikes remind me of the three witches. The Treasure Angustina? I'm not Spanish. The kind of rotatey shoot at you. But the fact that these are kind of spectral things coming from coffins, this backdrop is very kind of gothic as well. And it's just got loads of little details, which I really appreciate. It's also got foreground elements, which I hope don't get too much in the way. This looks like a river bank or a canal bank, maybe even a sewers bank, using the giant two-handy attack. So we've got giant two-hander, we've got the long curved blade. I keep on wanting to call it a scimitar, but actually it's kind of a dual type thing, dual bladed weapon. Not as in dual ended, dual kind of, yeah. If it shows up again, I'll try and explain what I mean. And the rapier mango style thing. We've got another delightful NPC, which seems to be holding something up. Reminds me very much of the one with the three faces. Boss? Probably a boss. Have to kill all the heads before killing the main one. That would be my best guess. Again, really lovely, highly detailed background elements to it. Some kind of almost Jesus-like figure being tended to by the cherubs, surrounded by the different goblets. This here looks like one of the fonts that we got our mana from. No, sorry, our fervor in the original game. Quite androgynous figure, this one. Yeah, these are the Moon Children, aren't they? Oh, that looked like a merchant. I'm guessing merchant. Just a giant hand. Yeah, this sword here. It looks like it's got two kind of blades to it, but I think it's actually just kind of very stylized curved blade. Again, the amount of detail on the paraphernalia, let's call it paraphernalia, that we've got there is quite, I mean, it's just the, oh, my cursor's gone, there it is. The detailing on the kind of cloth and the fabric is just very impressive. Also, there's a hand in a jar, because why not? It's the kind of detail that you've come to expect from these games. Probably a quest NPC, I would guess. Although actually reminds me of the six-armed maidens that gave us health in the first game. Also find it interesting detail that all of these statues are looking upwards and there seems to be stuff falling from the ceiling these flowers, in fact, that we've got on the floor falling down. Good symbology. Also, their skin appears to be cracking in places. We've got a giant enemy that looks like it's about to hit us with a door knocker. It's also got a pointy hat. We've got to the stage of the video where it's really starting to hammer us with things. Yeah. A giant hand that is being tended to by the look of it. There's a lot of swords in the background there. It also looks like there's some kind of hunched figure, maybe, that's going to leap out. What is... This guy looks like he's got panpipes attached to his face, so I assume he's going to make some kind of noise as he attacks. It looks like he's sharpening his blade on a grinding stone that he's got attached to his shoulder. That's a sentence you never expect to say, is it? Is this the same hand? Or from the same source? I mean, look at that. That's just straight out of a kind of biblical manuscript, isn't it? That piece of artwork. The halo of winged creatures surrounding her head. And actually, that's really nicely framed because the background is quite simple, so as not to detract from the sheer amount of detail on display with her sprites. We've got this reminds me of one of the newer areas, the kind of piratey ship place, the name of which escapes me. Something to do with salt, wasn't it? It's got that kind of maritime cave style thing, and this enemy looks like he's got, the stocks made from shipboards with barnacles on, something along those lines. Looks like we're riding it to the grounds. A man dissolving into sand. Yeah. The thing that I always liked about the first game was the sheer weirdness of the iconography. Because religion can be weird. When it comes to, here are the things that we worship. It has an elephant head, or it has holes in its hands, or it's strung up upside down on a cross. Religion is great to draw from for video game designs. That looks to be some kind of upgraded shrine, or maybe that was death. No, this looks like an upgrade room. Nice reflection in the water as well. So we're getting something from this fountain. That's a very kind of classic Metroidvania room framing, isn't it? Important thing in the middle, upgrade. Oh, I could be wrong. But that looks like a death animation. That looks like a blah, 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 stuff exploding out of us, we're dying thing. Blasphemous 2. I don't think there was anything else, was there? I think that's... Yeah, late summer 2023. So we're what? April now? So we're looking at, what, August? Probably? Depends what they count as the summer months, but as a teacher, September is the start of the autumn term for me. So late summer is probably August, which is great because that means it will be releasing during my summer holiday, which means that I can focus on playing. Coming on the Switch, the PS5, but not the PS4, Xbox X and S, and Steam. yes. Looking forward to that. Little bit disappointed that there was no show of a map there, but that's probably very, very much a me thing. It's like, please show me a little bit of the map. Is it evolving? Is it changing? Yeah, what have I got to look forward to in my Metroidvania mapping and exploration? But that looked great. That looked exactly what I would expect from a sequel to a Souls-like Metroidvania that I really, really enjoyed. I'm excited for Blasphemous 2. Of the things, let us speculate in the comments below. What things do you think I was wrong about in my analysis? What things do you think I was right about? Are you looking forward to Blasphemous 2 as much as I am? Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this little analysis and reaction. I say little, but 30 minutes of recording. Stay safe out there, stay fabulous. And I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, cheerio. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.